Welcome to Dualshock'd, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen, and over here I got my other co-host.
You got Spectre.
What is up, man?
The hell was that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you like went into your animal form there for a second. I don't know what that was, but it was pretty terrifying.
That's right, because I'm Brett, the Brettmeister, the Brettster, the Bartholomew.
Apparently.
I don't know. But anyway, what's going on, Spectre?
Not a whole lot. I think we're kind of slowly emerging from the chaos, here. I mean, at least that's the impression I have. I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm actually starting to go out a little bit. I'm, where people are, emerging from their homes, and it feels like it kind of feels like there's some light at the end of the tunnel here. So yeah, I'm actually doing a lot better. Maybe you have a different take on things than I do,
No,
but
I mean, but yeah, I mean, things are going fine. I mean, it's good.
I'm just saying, like, more optimistic in general. And plus it's summertime now, and it's like, it's the weather's nice and everything. It's just a more optimistic time.
Spectre optimistic? What?
Right? I know what's going on. What's going on? Right? It's just
who are you? What? Spectre is optimistic? What? Normally you're like
it's surreal, right? Yeah.
I know, right? Oh, this thing sucks. Oh, I hate EA. I'm never gonna go ahead and do that. God, I hate everything. I hate this and I hate that. Oh, this thing sucks. Oh, you're wrong, Brett. And then all of a sudden you're like, we get to go out, and oh, I love this, and oh, these games, oh, this. Wow, just apparently I have now affected you. You are now becoming optimistic like me.
Apparently, yeah. But
watch it.
But yeah, no.
Watch it. You'll go ahead and actually want to buy Last of Us Part 2.
No, let's not go nuts. But yeah, no. Yeah, no, just in a better mood overall. I think we all are, and yeah. But from a gaming standpoint, I've been keeping busy there. I'm actually playing. It's a game I've talked a little bit about when it first came out, and I kind of highly recommended it. I mean, it was really good, and I enjoyed it. But now I'm actually going through and finishing it and doing a full playthrough on it for all the glory and all the trophies and etc. And that is Nier Automata.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah, so I am in the process of completing that right now. So yeah, doing that. I got I hit a milestone, a big milestone. I think I talked about that last time. I had my 100th platinum for which was Doom Eternal.
Very nice.
So nice milestone there. We're all very proud, of course.
Mm-hmm. Good job, class.
But yeah, otherwise, yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. What about you?
Nice. The sun's shining. Things are opening up, which is always good. So that's great. I'm not losing my mind and getting stir crazy. Just always be safe out there. Don't be crazy. But probably for us, we're probably going to continue doing us talking to each other over. Well, I'm talking to just a picture of you, so I don't see your face. But anyway,
I know you miss me, but yeah, no, I think we'll get back to normal here in pretty short order. I think I don't want to nobody misinterpret. I'm not saying throw caution to the wind. I'm saying take every precaution, but I think at the same time, unless you're in a high risk area or in a very high risk environment, I think it's we're in a better spot here. So I mean, temper your behavior based on that.
Yeah,
what I'd recommend.
But when it comes to kind of what I've been gaming, what I've been playing, I've been going through The Last of Us 1. I've been going through that. I haven't played it since 2013. Yeah, 2013, 2014. Yeah, one of those two. Pretty much before it was the last exclusive before the PS4. So, I'm playing through the Last of Us Remastered on the PS4, with the DLC and everything, playing Left Behind, kind of getting ready for Last of Us Part 2. Um, Again, I have yet to be spoiled on the leaks. I'm not going to look at the leaks, and because again, as I said before, I don't want to compare the leaks to the game itself, because that's it's going to be hard for, at least for me, to be able to review Last of Us Part 2 if I'm able to see the leaks, because then you have to kind of get that out of your head, and it's a little bit harder because you almost kind of go, okay, did the game do this? Did the game do that? So I don't want to go ahead and do that. So I've been playing Last of Us. I've been kind of jumping around. I've been playing, there's a really good sale on the PlayStation Store, for like a lot of the season passes for like the Lego games. So like Lego Batman 3, Lego Marvel 2, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, and DC Villains. Lego DC Villains. So, and they were all like not even $5. So I just downloaded the DLC, and I've kind of started playing through each of them a little bit. So that's been fun. Lego games, again, it was one of those things where I don't want to get too involved into a game. Lego games are easy to pick up, and they're great games. They're really fun. But you don't really need to have, you don't kind of throw yourself into it. You know what I mean? Not like God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn or Marvel Spider-Man or Uncharted or Last of Us or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I saw that. I was going to ask you about that. I saw you playing a lot of Lego games and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I know they're kind of like fun, sort of autopilot-y games, like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm not really a connoisseur of them myself. I don't play them really, but I know they're just kind of like, okay, I just want something on in the background, kind of, I don't really have to like, sit here and, white knuckle gaming.
Yeah, mm-hmm, yeah. I don't like, and so that's been kind of thing. So I've been doing that, but, um, so yeah, no, but I've been spending time with Last of Us also. So yeah, and I guess we'll see with what happens with Last of Us Part 2. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. So, is there anything else, Spectre, or shall we begin?
I think we're ready to begin. I don't know about
Oh,
you.
alrighty. Well, then let's begin with what we always begin with: news of the nation. I don't know what that was. I was losing my mind for a quick second. I don't know.
It sounded like it, yeah.
You're like used to this though. This is like, whatever. It's Brett. So all right, let's begin. First topic: Tony Hawk Remastered will not have microtransactions at launch. This article comes from GameSpot. Um, so pretty much what it says is that, following Activision's Tony Hawk Pro Skater remaster from 2012, which was the horrible one, that game was bad. They have now announced that there's going to be Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and both you and I have gone very much in depth about how much we love this franchise, especially like the true Pro Skater games 1, 2, 3, and 4, especially 3. So pretty much what happened is that one of the things, because Activision is the publisher behind it, um, they they kind of spoke about how like people have asked, will there be microtransactions for this game? And pretty much what they state is that when it launches, so when it first comes out, it will not have microtransactions. That's kind of the key phrasing, the words of it, is that at launch. I don't like the way that it speaks, because what it says is Vicarious Visions boss Jen O'Neill told GameSpot, quote, everything that you see at launch is going to be unlocked with gameplay. We are not planning on having monetization at launch. So everything within the base game you can get by playing it, just like back in the day. But because they have said at launch, they may put it in later. And we have seen this multiple times with their remasters, with CTR, with Call of Duty, Modern Warfare Remastered, all of that. This has become a thing that Activision does. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that we will see some kind of microtransaction in the future from it. I mean, they'll have some kind of content later. I mean, you have to whenever you're reading these, it's like listening to like a politician talk. It's like, okay, well, nothing at launch. Keyword being there. At
Yeah.
launch. It's like a politician speaking, but yeah, I mean, I guess, is anybody surprised by this? I mean, it is Activision. I mean, it's kind of what we have come to expect, I think.
Yeah.
So
Go
I
ahead.
can't say I'm really terribly surprised or anything by this.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, and really, honestly though, I guess part of me, I mean, I know microtransactions are the bane of your existence. Like you wake up in the middle of the night and you're just like, oh my god, just like,
microtransaction.
online passes, microtransactions.
Yeah.
It's that's exactly what happens with you.
So let me
But
kind of go ahead about kind of how you're making fun of me and my war, my quote unquote,
let's go back to how you're making fun of me here.
the cross that I wear that is microtransactions. No to microtransactions. No, look, I technically if I wanted to go, oh, I want to buy this skin. So if I went to the PlayStation Store and I'm playing, I want to buy this character for Mortal Kombat 11, which there's a new DLC for that anyway. But regardless, let's say there's a new skin or a new character or whatever. Like, you can get this thing for X amount of dollars. You're going to get blank thing. It's $1, $2, $5, whatever. I have no problem spending money to get. I get this thing. I'm going to be getting blank item or items. Microtransactions that I don't like, because that's technically a microtransaction. You're buying a skin, a gun, a character, a thing. A power up. And it's permanent. The microtransactions that I don't like is the spend like $10 for 1,000 V-Bucks. And then use those V-Bucks for a loot crate, or for this thing, or you're not guaranteed the item. Those are the microtransactions that I don't like. So if Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remaster comes out, and the quote-unquote microtransactions that they have would be like, for $1 or $2, you can get this board, or these boards. Like, Monster Hunter World has microtransactions for them too. You can go to the store and you can get like, for instance, you can spend like $1 or $2 for an emote where you do a Hadouken from Street Fighter, and you do a literal Hadouken in Monster Hunter. Like, that's your emote. Or you can get a set of armor. It's not like, but you can wear it. It's a cosmetic armor piece. Does that make sense of how I'm explaining it?
Yes.
So those kind of microtransactions I'm okay with. I don't like the RNG. You're not guaranteed, so like you have to spend more money and more money and more money and more money just to get the one.
Kind of like the card game pack type of model, where it's like you have a chance to possibly get something you want. And it's I mean, like, I'm not a fan of in general of them. I'm not really a big defender of microtransactions. I understand why they exist. I understand why they're popular. I think they, in general, they're not necessarily a good force in gaming. I think in some games they work, but in others, probably not. I guess I never really envisioned Tony Hawk having microtransactions
I
in it,
know,
but
right?
but at the same time, I feel like I'm okay with all this so long as the base games that we get out of this are fully fleshed out and complete. And I mean, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 back in the day, they were, they were fantastic games. You definitely got your money's worth out of them.
Oh yeah.
And so no complaints there. I mean, they're not. It doesn't sound like they're really removing any content. It sounds like maybe what they'll do is they'll possibly add some special outfits or characters in the future, and you'll have the option to purchase those. So that's totally fine. I don't mind that. I probably won't personally take advantage of that unless there's something like really, that appeals to me. But I can't remember which game had which game was it? Which Tony Hawk had like they always had these wacky like unlockable characters like Darth Maul, I think was in one of them and
Oh
stuff like
yeah.
that.
Like I think that was in like 2, 3, and 4. Like
I'm
maybe it
looking
was.
it up right now because I know I'm not just remembering that incorrectly. Let's see, Darth Maul, Tony Hawk. Let's see, was that Tony Hawk 3?
I think it was.
Oh, it's in 3. It's in 3.
God dang it. God
See,
dang it.
remember, wasn't I just talking about this last
Yes.
time? Like, I like
Yes.
put 3 in. I
Everyone wants
hope
3.
3
Everyone
comes
wants
out of this
3.
too.
I think
It really was like the definitive Tony Hawk experience
I
in my
think
opinion.
I
I mean,
think
but 1 and 2 are fantastic though.
oh no, dude, I love 3, but I think in 2 you got the Wolverine, like X from X-Men, I think. So, again, who knows? Maybe they will put like, Django and Maul in the 1 and 2 because we loved it. So, again, who knows? So yeah, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, so next topic. Ubisoft sues Apple and Apple Google over a Rainbow Six Siege ripoff called Alibaba. So this article comes from Bloomberg, and pretty much what it is that Ubisoft has sued Apple Inc. and Google, accusing the companies of selling a ripoff of its popular game Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Area F2, which is created by Alibaba Group Holdings Ltd's Enjoy.com, is a near carbon copy of Rainbow Six Siege that can't be quote seriously be disputed. Ubisoft said in a complaint filed Friday in a federal court in Los Angeles. It's pretty much a mobile game because the reason why Ubisoft's going against those two is that it's a mobile game. But it's here in the article, and if you want to go ahead and see, everything is right here. But pretty much what it is that the way the characters work and everything is very, very, very similar to how the Siege characters work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's very it's like a close copy to it in a way.
So yeah, what do you think about kind of Ubisoft going after Apple and Google, kind of selling a ripoff of Siege?
Yeah, I mean, this stuff happens. I mean, I wish I knew a little bit more about it to see how much of a ripoff it was. Like if it's like a an obvious Flappy Bird style like 1-to-1 type of ripoff type of thing. You know, I don't know. I feel like in a way, things like this sort of police themselves. If it's like a really poor copy of something, then it's like does it really is there a market for it even? Like, I mean, I guess people will still buy it, potentially, but it's like, is there really a market for these things when it's just so poorly done?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not poorly done. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, mind you, there's a bunch of Clash of Clan, like, carbon copies of themselves. There's a bunch of, like, what is it, Candy Crush? Like, that style of game. Like, you are playing the same style of game, but instead of, like, candy pieces, they're crystals. Instead of crystals, they're I don't know, stuffed animals, whatever, but you're playing the same game, you know? So it's just detailed differently. So again, I agree. I think this is just clear itself up. I just thought this was like, I'm like, huh, interesting. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to something a little bit more fun to talk about. We've got some new details from Ghost of Tsushima, so I'll move in. The first detail that I have is that Ghost of Tsushima's creative director is moving away from the infamous's karma meter. So like the whole like you can choose, you can be good or bad in the infamous games, and depending on if you're good or bad, you get a different story. Um, this is in a talk with IGN. The creative director and art director Jason Connell spoke with IGN about whether they considered about adding any sort of morality meter to Ghost, given the infamous game's success and having those choices. And he says, "quote We thought about a morality meter because we had the karma system from Infamous Second Son and the other games. But we realized that it was more important to us that we wanted to tell a human story of someone who is this way and has to evolve into something else versus transform completely into something else. He doesn't flip-flop back and forth. It muddled it up for us. We really wanted to tell the story to reflect his transformation. So it's not... So pretty much they are not doing the karma system. You can't like, oh, I'm going to kill people, and by doing that, I'm more evil, or if I save people, I'm more good. Nope. This is the story. Linear, like, this is it. You know? So what do you think about that, kind of them taking that away from that?
Yeah, I think I don't have a problem with it personally. I think in general, I guess morality systems, whatever you call them in games, they have their share of they're usually kind of very poorly done. Like they're not really they're very they're usually very binary for one. Either you're it's hard good or hard evil.
Yeah, you can't play it.
There's
It's
not
hard to play it neutral.
hard to play it neutral. It's hard to play it with a sense of like, I don't know. I like characters that I think people in general tend to be kind of a mixture of, either, people are complicated. A lot of them, kind of have a mixture of good and bad in them, in terms of their actions. I don't think morality systems in games, really reflect that too well. I think a lot of them are, they they put one category or the other, and often they really incentivize you to strictly stay in one category or another. It's
Yeah. Like, I mean, again, like for one of my favorite games, Coder, like you get more benefits. So, like, if you play Dark Side, then you're going to get a lot of, if you want to use a lot of more offensive force powers, like Force Lightning and Force Choke, and you don't take penalties for doing that, or vice versa for like if you want to heal or Jedi Mind Trick. In Infamous, there is, especially in Infamous 2, there is a point where you have to make this one big decision. You choose good or you choose bad, and it's by choosing that you get either the ice power or the fire power on top of your electricity. And so if you chose good, you get ice. If you chose evil,
oh,
you get fire.
I lost you.
Oh,
Are you there?
no,
Hello?
yeah, no, you good? Yeah, no.
Yep. Now I hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, no. Welcome to Talking Over Online.
Right, more or less.
I know. But as I was saying is that you have the karma system. So in Infamous 2, if you chose good, you get ice. If you choose evil, you get fire, and it's by aligning yourself with these two people that have these powers. One of the person has ice, and she transfers some of that power to you. Another person has fire. If you choose to side with her, she gives you fire powers on top of your electricity. So yeah, I mean, again, I have no problem with them taking away the karma system, because now this allows Sucker Punch to really kind of be more innovative. Like this is Ghost of Tsushima is so far away from Infamous and even Sly Cooper. Like when Infamous came out, it was very much a superhero game, but like it had platforming and there were some things that they kept from Sly and they moved it into Infamous. This feels so different. Like this is a completely different game from Sucker Punch, and that's probably one of the big reasons why I am so excited for this game. The next detail that I have is that Ghost of Tsushima is going to be Sucker Punch's biggest game ever. Again, this is continuing the talk with IGN. Connell continues. He says, quote, "It's a lot bigger than Infamous Second Son. It's definitely Sucker Punch's biggest game ever. We've ever made by a landslide, both in the amount of stuff that's in it and also just sheer landscape square footage wise." He continued to explain that the team often gets asked about Ghost of Tsushima's size in terms of length by completing the game, though he did note it's hard to pinpoint because, quote, completing can mean a various number of things with open world games. Some people just want to play the story and finish it. The studio recognized this, but then there's also guys who want to find everything. Studio recognized this and worked to, quote, create a world big enough that has both those opportunities. People that can just play the story and people who can get lost in the environment. And then it kind of continues about more, kind of about they've learned a ton and they built upon tech. And we have an amazing technical rendering gurus at Sucker Punch. They've managed to pull out every little ounce of performance so that we could have our dreams of making this game. And it's just talking about graphics, which we have seen, and it's gorgeous. But yes, this is going to be in scope. This is Sucker Punch's biggest game they've ever made. What do you think of that? And they, like, again, them talking about how they're keeping in mind both the people who just want to play the game, get through the main story, do not go through the side quest. They're just going to play the main quest and get to the end. And then probably for people like us who want the platinum, who want to get everything, kind of get the completionist. What do you think of that?
I like that mentality. You know, kind of, you know, it's like it's not going to be like some kind of major pain for you, you know, like it's going to be, you know, no matter what kind of gamer you are, you're kind of going to have, yeah, you're not going to be frustrated by it, I guess, to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of nice. Yeah, I mean, I guess really for them, I mean, for Sucker Punch, I just, you know, I go off of their previous games, and I mean, like, I think that it kind of fits in line with their style, where they're kind of enjoyable pick up and play type of games. And I think that's good. That's kind of their MO. And I mean, and we were just talking about that earlier, of things like Lego and stuff like that. It's just, it's nice to have games that are, you know, I mean, you know, that basically just not necessarily turn your brain off, but just kind of like, you know, relaxing to play. You know, people still want to play games to just kind of relax, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that just seems like that's kind of, you know, their style. And I think of that with like Infamous. Like Infamous is kind of a game where you can sort of be it's kind of like stream of consciousness. It's like, okay, what do I want to do now? I'm gonna go, oh, I hear something interesting over here, I'm gonna go do this. And I kind of like games like that. I mean, a lot of my, you know, games that I really enjoy, like Fallout or
Mm-hmm.
Elder Scrolls, kind of have that similar mentality where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can play it, you know, one way. You can, you know, be focused on the main quest or whatever, but you can also go and just you know, like, oh, that looks really cool over there, I'm gonna go explore this.
Yeah. And I will say, like, for Infamous, if you like, especially like, I think the Infamous, if you just play through the main story, I believe it's about a 6 to 8 hour completion for the campaign, just the main campaign. So I think by thinking of this, they may be extending the main campaign from maybe, I would guess, maybe about 10, 12 hours. If they're like kind of going like they know people just want to beat it, versus people like us who want to like the completionists. So I think that's really good of them to kind of be like, yeah, no, like they're focusing in on that kind of thing. The last detail that I have. This is again, these are all in the conversation with the creative director, art director Jason Connell with IGN. They did have something that did affect them in development. The black and white mode pretty much kind of hindered their development, kind of made it longer for them to develop it. Quote, there are definitely some things that are more challenging when you're in that mode. Once we created that mode, and this is the black and white mode, and you can play the whole game through it, we quickly realized there were some areas that we needed to reevaluate. Like if we were using the same icon on the map, but just using a different color, then that doesn't work so well. So you have to change the shape of the second icon because the color alone will not work. He explained how this worked to make the game fully understandable in that mode. Took some of its cues from how colorblind accessibility modes work in games. His quote, and frankly, we take a lot of cues from learning from colorblind accessibility mode. It effectively would be that for us. We just put the mode on, play the game a ton to find out where it breaks and rework on the design. And that's how we work in general about pretty much everything. So he's saying what they do is that they want to try to break the game, and if it breaks, they know where the problem is and they fix it. So we found out at State of Play that you can play the entire game in black and white as if it's an old samurai movie from forever ago. You know, the famous samurai movies.
I almost want to. I think that's really. That's fantastic. I think that really. Some people are obviously going to be into that because they're fans of kind of old school samurai films and black and white films from that from a bygone era.
Yeah.
But also in a way, when you think about it, it kind of adds to the replay value of the game because you can go back and maybe you played the first playthrough and you have your regular standard colored mode and with the dub voices on, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll do another run through or a new game plus or whatever with the subtitles on, Japanese language on and black and white.
Yeah.
So in a way, it kind of increases the replay value. I like things like that, like different modes, different filters. It kind of adds to the the replay value of a game.
Yeah, and like, mind you, I applaud them for like putting in this mode because, mind you, they didn't have to. They could have chosen to just make a really good samurai game in color, like just the normal way. But they're putting so much detail into being like again, you can put Japanese dubbing into it, so like it's all spoken in Japanese, and then you can also put it into the black and white, so it is literally as if you're playing that old school samurai movie. I've never seen that done before, and I think that's amazing that they're doing that. So this kind of hindered their production of developing the game. It kind of pushed the timeline further back. But I think when this game comes out and we see it in play, I think it's going to be executed phenomenally. I hope. Again, I'm hoping. This is me being like optimistic, but like what we saw at State of Play showing that off looked great. That's kind of why I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I'm always behind delaying a game within reason if there's a purpose behind it. It goes back to that. I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto who said that, that classic quote of like, a delayed game will eventually be good. A rushed game will always be bad, something like that.
Yeah.
So if now the other, the other part to that, of course, is that if you delay a game forever and ever and ever, eventually it may become bad. That's the Duke Nukem Forever paradox.
Yeah.
Where if a game is just pushed back and back and back, it's eventually it's been in development hell for so long that it just it doesn't materialize at all, or it just becomes outdated, or there's problems. So I'm totally okay with if they say like, oh, we want to delay this another couple of weeks or a couple of months, or a month or two, and we're adding this cool new feature onto it, or this or that. It's nice. I guess that's the old boomer in me. Is like I miss when games would release with like full content and stuff like that, and they felt like complete games. And I think that's how they should be. Just release a game and it feels fully fleshed out. And then if you want to add little DLC things later, that's fine. But basic features, things that would really make the game better. Try to it should launch as complete as possible.
I applaud PlayStation for kind of being that. They very much pride themselves now as being the first, like, kind of being the single player platform. That's what they pride themselves on, is the story, is the gameplay, that single player aspect. And you buy the game and it's a complete package. God of War has no DLC, and it won Game of the Year in 2018. Marvel Spider-Man had one DLC set, which is really good. I enjoyed it. Like, Horizon Zero Dawn had an expansion. Like, if there is DLC, it's worth it. Like PlayStation has done a good job of, you buy this game, you are getting the complete package. This is what you get. So I applaud PlayStation on that. So yeah, no, I'm excited. Anything else?
No.
Right.
That's all I had to say there.
Sweet, you're gonna enjoy this one. Next topic is that Sony CEO says that PS5 games will be announced, quote, soon. The Sony CEO, Kenichiro Yoshida, has said that the company will be announcing a lineup of games for the PS5 soon. Speaking as part of a statement about corporate strategy for Sony, Yoshida, according to Bloomberg, Takashi Mochizuki, I apologize, I messed that up probably. He said, quote, "We will be announcing a strong lineup of PS5 games. Much has been made of Sony's relative silence on the PS5, and particularly its games, in recent weeks, especially when compared to Xbox's somewhat more open approach to revealing the Series X. There has been speculation about the PS5 event taking place in June, and some have taken this statement to support that, although Sony has yet to say a word of that. As part of their corporate strategy report, Sony also outlined the future of its game and network services department. Quote, "The launch of the PS5 scheduled for holiday season of this calendar year will deliver an even more immersive experience on a game console, higher speed, enhanced sensory perceptions generated by its revolutionary controller, and sound delivered through in 3D audio will combine to realize truly next-generation console experience like anything else before." As part of the statement, Sony also announced that Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO and President Jim Ryan is now also a senior executive vice president of Sony Corp, like of Sony as a whole. So, and again, the only thing we kind of seen of the PS5 is that Unreal Engine 5 demo we got from Summer Game Fest, or the Summer Game Fest, the Jeff Keighley project that has been going on last week or the week before. So what do you think?
I think this is fantastic. I like I said, I've been saying this whole time. It just feels like we're getting up to the 11th hour here, and we just don't know much about these systems. I feel like the last go around and pretty much every system we've seen before this, there was just a lot more information out there. And I mean, now you could blame that on circumstances that exist right now. I understand that, but also it just feels like we're really just being slowly dripped this information. And I feel like they need to build some more hype for this. It's like, I mean, this time, 7 years ago, we had a lot more to go on. There was a lot more, even from a leak perspective, we knew a lot more. And and I believe pre-orders for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were starting in June of 2013.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're on an equivalent time frame here, I mean, we should be able to pre-order this thing within the next month and a half or so. I mean, we're at the end of May right now.
I agree.
So, I feel like, we need to have a nice info dump, and I hope this time, when we do see this lineup of games, it is meant to be consumer facing. It's meant to be something that's not just another, like, oh, here's the technical specifications. It's like, okay, this is why, they have to answer that question. Why do we want to buy this system?
Mm-hmm.
What is the draw for this? And for me, that is really, that's a real question. That's a question that's I'm not asking that ironically, or it's a real question. I need to know why I would rush out and buy this system on day one. I know for you that's no matter what, it's a day one purchase. But
Well, again, I've said multiple times, like, yes, you are correct. I am a Sony. I am Mr. PlayStation. I am buying a PS5 day one. But I have stated before also that if that wasn't the case, right now I would be on the fence of right now either system, but I would probably be pulling towards Xbox only because we have gotten more information, tangible information about kind of why you want to get the system. Yes, we got the specs of both systems, and they both are really good. They both do the same thing, but just in different ways, and that's kind of where we've kind of been going to. Even the PS4 and the Xbox One are similar to each other. Not a lot, but they are pretty similar, and I think that's kind of what's happening now with the PS5 and Series X. It's now just going to be, what features do you bring? What makes you different? Hence the DualSense. I love that controller. That controller is gorgeous, and hearing what it does.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, that's a point in its favor. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a nice features to have what looks to be a much better controller this time around.
Yeah, but what we haven't heard anything from PlayStation about what games they have. While Xbox, they on their Inside Xbox this month, they said at the end, get ready for July. That's when we're going to have our exclusives, and that's kind of the big guns. This is the July event for Inside Xbox. That's when you're like, all right, why do I want to buy an Xbox? These are the games you get. And we got the third-party ones, and you and I believe, have talked about it. And it was fine, mind you, them saying you're going to get gameplay of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then it was just a cinematic trailer of quote-unquote gameplay. That was stupid. It looked good, but it wasn't actual gameplay. So, but I will say, it's time to tell us the games. And if they do the June event, honestly, next month in June, PlayStation should come out swinging, announce the system.
And I think it's a lot more, for me at least, it's a lot more interesting to see what PlayStation has to offer, because PlayStation still has, like Nintendo, PlayStation still has true exclusives. I mean, whatever Xbox offers as its quote unquote exclusives, there's going to be nothing there that requires me to actually purchase. There's not going to be nothing that will sell me or anybody with a halfway decent PC on an Xbox One. Whereas a PlayStation, at least for now, you have to buy a system, the system to play, the bulk of its exclusives.
I get you.
Some of them have become are no longer exclusive, or they were timed exclusive or whatever. But there still is, even to this day, if you look back on the PlayStation 4's library, there still is quite a few games you can literally only play on PlayStation 4.
So yeah,
and I'm assuming PlayStation 5 will follow the same route with that.
I think if they do the event in June, they need to do a June event, because if they come out before, I think that would be smarter for PlayStation for them to do the big June event. I don't know. Do you want to be first or do you want to be second? I guess that's the gamble you play. Do you want to be first to announce your system? Here's the price. Here's everything. Or do you want to be last, so that way, because your competition has already said their part. I mean, mind you, going last would help the PS4.
Yeah, I guess I mean it's kind of like it's sort of like some card games where there's a lot of advantages to going second. In some certain card games, but it's kind of like this. Not so much in Yu-Gi-Oh, but in other games, but yeah, or certain decks, I should say, are like that. But it's kind of the same idea here, where if they go second, they have the advantage of, okay, now we can kind of react to our competition. we can. Although I also say, like, I don't really think they're necessarily in direct competition with each other. It's not like how things used to be. But there are some advantages to it where they can kind of kind of one up each other a little bit to some degree, or maybe address some concerns, or see consumer reaction. Like, if people are going nuts about the price or whatever, it kind of gives them an idea of how consumers would react to your system, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, I get you there. All right, next topic I have. It's more about The Last of Us Part 2. I have some good and some bad. Do you want me to begin with the bad, or do you want me to begin with the good?
I'm pretty apathetic when it comes to Last of Us, so it's all the same to me. But so go start with the good news, I guess.
Okay. So good news. I know you're apathetic, but this is actually really cool. So on the PlayStation blog, by celebrating the release of Last of Us Part 2, they have made their own limited edition bundle. And they've also there's a PS4 Pro bundle. They are selling the controller that's inside of the system. They are also selling it separately, along with new gold headsets, PlayStation Gold headsets, along with a 2 terabyte Seagate drive for the PS4. Like here, the system, bam, right there. So this is the system. It's of course $400, just like the Pro. I believe it's already sold out. But Spectre, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is a very nice looking system. I like that. Kind of like it's like a gray, like a stone, like a dark gray kind of color scheme to it.
Yep.
It looks aesthetically pleasing. I mean, obviously it's for a game that I don't really care about at all. But I do like the special edition systems a lot. It tends to be what I gravitate towards. So yeah, I mean, if you're a huge fan of Last of Us, I guess this is kind of a good system to sort of upgrade to. Although, I mean, keep in mind we are in, I guess, temper that based on your decisions around PlayStation 5. I mean, we are, very quickly here getting close to the launch of the PlayStation 5. So unless you're like a super, super hardcore fan, it might be hard to justify purchasing another PlayStation 4 Pro, literally 6 months before the PlayStation 5 launches.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you be better off
putting
it towards that?
Well, it depends on if you want to buy it day one. I think that's where you want to go. Do you want to buy the PS4?
And that's the other consideration too. Yeah, I mean, if you're someone like myself that doesn't plan on buying the PlayStation 5 day one, then maybe it would be worth it to buy something like this if you really care about it. I was actually thinking of switching to like a solid state hard drive on my Pro if I'm going to hang on to it for a while. Do stuff like that. So I was thinking about doing things like that. But I mean, that's because I don't plan on buying it day one, unless there is some something comes out of the wild blue here and really convinces me to buy it day one.
Yeah, I get you.
But out of curiosity, are you getting this?
I mean, mind you, I already got my God of War system. What I will before
That's not an answer.
Shut up. I'm getting there. First, before I go ahead and answer that, I will want to go ahead and say that the flower kind of markings, it's the tattoo that Ellie has. Those are indented into the console, so it's like if you put your hand over it, you can actually feel it. And then it has.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's not just it's not like a plexiglass, it's indented into the system. So, if that makes sense. You also have, again, you have the gold system, the gold headset, which on the inside of the headset has the flower tattoo, and then on the side, you can't see it. It's not like in color. It just says Last of Us Part 2 in black, matching the fabric or whatever on the outside of the headset. And then with the controller, it's that same color as the system. On the touchpad, it says Last of Us Part 2, and then on the right bottom of the part of the controller, it has that floral design. So, am I getting this system? No. I already have my God of War system. I have my Star Wars Darth Vader system from forever ago. So I mean, I would love to get this. Yes, this looks awesome. This looks amazing. Um, but I did I did pre-order the controller, because that controller looks amazing. I did pre-order the controller, but because I have the God of War system, um, that's kind of the PS4 that I've been using. No, I'm not picking this up. But if I didn't, probably, most likely. So yeah. So we got that. Also, one other good thing. Again, for you, you're like, I don't care. For you, Spectre, you're like, I don't give a crap. It has been stated that Last of Us Part 2 is going to be bigger in scope. Pretty much Naughty Dog has discussed the ambitions of Last of Us Part 2. And what they have stated is that members of the development team discussed how Naughty Dog's biggest game ever, has scripted sequences players could miss or may miss. Quote, in this game, we've gone so far in making the level design open so that there are actually entire story movements, entire combat encounters, full scripted sequences that you may completely miss. Last of Us Part 2's co-director Anthony Newman said in the latest look at the sequel. And there are things that we feel like, even though a portion of our player base may never see these things, the fact that when you do encounter them, you feel like you discovered them. It lends them to this charm and this magic, I think, is unique to games that this happened to me because of what I did and the place I explored. So this game doesn't have a multiplayer. Last of Us 1 was linear. There is open areas, but it is very much, I'm in this area, we're going to fight these guys, and then we're going to continue through the story. Now it kind of looks like there's kind of branches. It's going to come back to this point, but there are different ways you can get to said point. You know?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, kind of like the way they're kind of thinking of the scope?
I
All right,
like I said, I don't want to say much about the game,
all right,
because I know a lot more than you do in general about, from the leaks. I'm pretty well versed in
right.
kind of some of the major story elements. So I don't want to talk too much about the game in general
All
until a couple of weeks from now when you've actually played it.
Well,
So
good
I
to know.
guess.
Oh, okay, well, funsies. Well, here's something that this is the bad thing. Is that so on Twitter they've added this new feature where you can kind of you can kind of like put filters on to tweets. Meaning what you can do is that you can pretty much say only people who I mention on a tweet can respond or comment on said tweet. This pretty much you can.
Wait, what is it? What does it say? Go back up. Go back
Okay,
up. What does it say?
so the new Twitter tool began testing on May 20th, and it pretty
Go
much.
back up to the title. I can't see the title.
Oh, there.
Twitter's doing it. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you. So don't worry. So the new Twitter tool is they're using it to try to fight spoilers from appearing on what they post on social media. Twitter created this new tool, and it makes it so that accounts can choose who is allowed to respond to a given tweet, even preventing anyone to respond at all. And this is the tweet right here. So they posted pick up where we left off on June 19th, and it's the end picture. So on the top, it's the picture from the ending of Last of Us Part 1, and then on the bottom, it's a picture of, I think it's Ellie and Joel on horses looking into a city from Last of Us Part 2. But at the very bottom, it says, a conversation between at Naughty Dog and people they mentioned in this tweet. They didn't mention anyone. It's so no one can respond to this. So the convo tool lets accounts select who can @mention them in your tweets. The options include either everyone, people you follow, or only people you mention. The latter option also makes it so that social media account cannot mention. If you don't mention anyone, no one can respond. And they're using it so that way, you can't. the leaks don't happen or anything like that. Mind you, I don't know how I feel about this, or at least how how Naughty Dog is just kind of like silencing everything. Like we've heard how on YouTube they have flagged people who have talked about, not like discuss the leaks as in like, oh, these are the leaks and this is what happens. They've also flagged people like you and me who are just talking about it. We haven't like discussed it or whatever. It's very much like discussing, oh, what do we think of people talking about the leaks themselves. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So it's just a way to clamp down on people, jumping in and giving spoilers and stuff. I mean, I guess that's okay, especially for an official Twitter account. I mean, if people want to get spoilers for the game, I mean, they're pretty easy to seek out. I mean, the only reason to mention them in a response, in response to a tweet would be to just kind of like from a trolley standpoint, I guess. So
Yeah, well, I mean,
you know,
it just feels like everyone just that's kind of like that's why you go on the internet. Like, and again,
and there's nothing wrong with that. But I understand why. I mean,
I
it's their Twitter account, it's their feed. I understand why. I mean, they should they should have the ability to kind of police their own Twitter feed, I guess. Um, I don't care. Like I said, I don't care what people say or how they kind of monitor their own stuff. I usually have a problem with when people try to clamp down on what other people say. That's usually the issue.
Yeah.
But this isn't really the case. I mean, this is their own little social media feed.
Well, mind you, ever since the leak happened, Naughty Dog has very much been in a bad predicament, and they have been using tools to kind of again, no one can respond to this, which I get because the leaks are out there. People are just going to go, oh, look at what Ellie did in this thing, blah 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 blah. But I will fine, that's understandable. Do I agree? Iffy. But I've also come to find out that Naughty Dog would flag people on YouTube or just discussing about the leaks, not saying what the leaks are.
That's different. That's where I think that it kind of crosses a line, and But on their own account, I think that's fine. They can police it however they want. But when they're actively going after people and trying to silence people, that becomes an issue.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so it's one of those kind of things. Just a few more quick notes is that they have there's a Mafia trilogy happening. 2K has announced that there's going to be a Mafia trilogy, a remaster of Mafia, a remake of Mafia 1, a remaster of Mafia 2, both Mafia 2 and then Mafia 3. Both 2 and 3 are complete with their DLC. There's even trailers up on it. Mafia 1, the remake, doesn't come out until August 28th. But the definitive editions of 2 and 3 are available right now. So, hey, Mafia!
Yeah, I mean, I played Mafia 2 back when it first came out. I really enjoyed it. I never got around to playing Mafia 1. I believe that was a PlayStation 2 game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I might actually pick this up. I heard Mafia 3 was kind of bad news, but I'll probably, if I get the chance, definitely at least revisit Mafia 2. I really enjoyed Mafia 2. I just had a really good experience with the game. A lot of fun to play. The story was actually kind of fun. The characters were engaging. It was like a good, kind of Grand Theft Auto type of narrative, but it was it wasn't like that kind of satire, directed satire and kind of cynical nature of Grand Theft Auto. It was kind of like it was sort of like playing a mob movie in a way. It was like playing like a Goodfellas, and or something like that, or or Godfather to a lesser degree. So I enjoyed Mafia 2. I probably will at the very least pick up Mafia 2 again.
Nice. Next topic is that we could be seeing the return of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. The Twitter user named Brian Lee O'Malley, he tweeted, "Bring back the Scott Pilgrim game. Hashtag bring back the Scott Pilgrim game. Hashtag watch with the Academy." And then he responded to his own tweet, "Just kidding. Hashtag watch with the Academy." But then Ubisoft's official Twitter account responded back to him with pretty much the thinking emoji. So again, this is just speculation. I just thought I used to play Scott Pilgrim on my PS3 back in the day, and I love that game. That game is great. That game is delisted on the PS3, so if you did not buy it, you can't get it. And it was one of those. It's based off of the graphic novel, which the movie is based off of that, which I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And I would love to see this just ported to the PS4 or PS5. That'd be awesome. I'd buy that.
I bet you would.
I'm guessing you're like, I don't know.
I'm not a fan of it. I think I actually saw the Goofy movie that it was based on
Dude,
back in the day. And terrible movie.
Whatever. You can
garbage. So
whatever. You can just be wrong,
yeah.
Spectre. That's fine. You can just be wrong.
Okay.
Next is that Iron Man VR. We've said that it has an announcement of July 3rd. That's when it comes out. There's going to be a Iron Man VR bundle. We're going to be getting that. You pretty much get a full set. The VR headset, move controllers, camera, and the game itself. So that's a good little tidbit. Next.
Yeah, I like yeah, and I saw in the bundle there it has the move controllers with it too. It's kind of funny. I with the move controllers, I remember a time when you know way back when in a distant age, when I used to work at a major video game retailer. We were literally tripping over those things.
Oh
like
my God.
Move controllers. I think they were marked down to like $5 each. Like they were just. We could not get rid of the damn things. I think at my store alone, it was like we had like 40 or 50 of the things at a time. It was just like we could not get rid of the things. But now, because there's actually uses for them again. I think they've kind of gone up in value quite a bit. So
no, they totally have,
nice.
And now they're hard to find outside of buying them for $100 new.
Yeah, and it's nice that I like that for these bundles that they do include the move controllers, because the more of these things, I think VR benefits from having kind of that extra interface to it, and that that more direct kind of motion control interface to it. So the more of these that are out there, the better. And I'm assuming. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. Is the next iteration of VR? I wonder if it'll use the move controllers or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just nice. It's just nice to see them have bundles like this and have this stuff out there. So actually, kind of a side point here. I hooked up my VR headset again, my PlayStation VR. So
welcome to my world. That's what I did too. That's what I did too. Actually,
I might dabble in. Yeah. I mean, I might dabble in that again. I kind of want to pick up a couple of different little things. Like I wanted to try things like Beat Saber and stuff like that. So I'll try to fight my way through the motion sickness.
There you go.
So we'll see.
Yep. And then last but not least, last topic is that Final Fantasy VII Remake has topped the charts of games of April of 2020. It is the highest selling game of April. So that's really good.
Very nice.
Yeah. So just the last ones were a few quick ones. So yeah. But yeah, that's all the news. Shall we begin with our PlayStation conversation?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Great. This is our PlayStation conversation.
PlayStation.
Alrighty, Spectre. So this was something that you actually brought up to me. So I'm gonna let you lead this PlayStation conversation because you brought this up.
Oh boy. Okay.
And well, I mean, again, we're kind of in a little bit of a lull. Last of Us Part 2 is coming out in the next few weeks. Ghost of Tsushima isn't until July. We haven't heard anything of just kind of new events or games or anything until next month, so we're kind of in a lull right now. So you brought this idea, and I thought this was a great thing to talk about for our PlayStation conversation. So Spectre, what did you bring up to me? What was the idea? Well, what is this thing that you wanted to discuss?
Well, I mean, just kind of, I mean, we're on the cusp here of a new generation, and actually, that's another video topic we'll have to get to eventually. Is kind of our best of lists and maybe a worst of list for the generation as a whole. So there's another video topic for you to kind of file
Well,
away.
don't worry, I've already had that in mind. It's just one of the. It's just we're still in the generation. We haven't finished it yet. So.
Yeah, so we're not there yet, but we're getting close to that. But I thought with this, like, I mean, we're right on the cusp of it. Let's start thinking about like kind of what our wish list would be for this. And I laid out a couple of ground rules for it. I mean, we each picked 5 games that we'd like to see in this next generation on PlayStation 5. And I tried, I wanted this to be like, okay, let's avoid, the obvious quasi-confirmed games. Like, I mean, I think we all know there's going to be a God of War follow-up. I think we all know there's going to be there'll probably be another Marvel Spider-Man game. There'll be another Horizon Zero Dawn sequel. I think these are kind of all foregone conclusions. So I was like, okay, let's avoid that to some degree. And I tried to push for if we're going to talk about remasters, and I do have some remasters on my list, of course, too. If we're talking about remasters, let's try to focus on remasters that are, games and remasters that are realistic. Like there is at least some evidence that something like this could exist, but they're not actually confirmed yet. So they're kind of in that gray area where there's probably a better than 50-50 chance where they might get made, but they have not been like officially confirmed.
Yep. So
if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So Spectre chose 5. I chose 5. So these are pretty much the top 10 wish list games for the PS5, and pretty much Spectre, as he explained. I'm just kind of breaking this down. We can't choose games like God of War 2, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Like, those are almost a given. We are choosing games that we want to see that we don't know if it could happen, but these should happen in our own opinion. Am I right? Did I pronounce
exactly? Yeah. These are games that we all have a kind of a personal investment in that we actually want to see happen.
Sweet.
So I'll start us off here, and these are in no particular order. I didn't want to rank them like like this is the one I want. I mean, there's some that I want more than others, but I don't feel the need to rank them. So starting off here, and this is what I've talked about before, and it sort of has been soft confirmed, we'll say, because there was a mention by From Software that they were working on another game in this series, and that was Armored Core. So a new Armored Core game for this new generation. I think that would be pretty awesome for a couple of reasons. For one, it would be nice to maybe for them to kind of capitalize on the fans and the goodwill that they've made through their Soulsborne games. Kind of taking that, and I think no matter what they release, there's a degree of hype around it because they're a beloved developer, and I like I was a big From Software fan before Dark Souls even existed. I liked and not that I'm a Dark Souls fan really, but I really I was really always into Armored Core. I mean, they're fantastic games. There's actually some echoes of Dark Souls in them in a way because they can be challenging, and they reward creativity and customization. And I think having a new one with a lot of graphical fidelity and a lot of built as maybe like a reboot, because there's the story to it is just so you could call it something like Armored Core 6, but maybe I think it'd be wise to kind of make it like a reboot or almost like a remaster at this point, just to kind of, because it's been it's been over 5 years since we've had an Armored Core game, so I think it's high time we have some kind of new introduction to the series. And I mean, these games have sold well. I mean, they have sold well in the past. There's been over a dozen Armored Core games. I mean, they're very prolific with these. So it's basically soft confirmed. So I think I would put it at maybe just rough estimate statistics here. Maybe a 30 or 40% chance we would see it this coming generation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you've ever played Armored Core or not.
No, I have not. It has intrigued me because it's just Zords, big huge robots, Gundams, like to fight things. But no, I have not given it the time of day, which I know that I should.
And it's something. And it's something that another point in its favor too is we don't really have a lot of like really solid like mech games out there from a respected developer. So I think it'd fill a niche in the market right now.
Yeah.
So that's why I would probably pick that as one of my 5.
Yeah. So you got Armored Core 6, or like the next Armored Core. Right? So what's next? What do we got?
Oh, okay. Well, you want me to go for mine first, or want to switch off? Or?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can switch off. Okay, so my next game, to go ahead and go with that. So the next game on my wish list would be a Darksiders 4. Now, not a spin-off like Darksiders Genesis. I'm talking about Darksiders 4. It completes the story that's been being told that leads into what happens after 1, where like war has called the other 3 horsemen, and the 4 of them are going to now go into battle and kind of continue the story that happened at the end of 1, because 2 and 3 is like what happened to Fury and Death during those events, during Darksiders 1. I am ready to, like, you even had Genesis, which was a spin-off, and it's a game about war and strife, and it's before the events of even the first game. So now I'm like, okay, we know Strife now. You've introduced Strife, and we get to play as him. Now, give me straight up and down. Like, I'm talking about, like, the way I would probably do it is, like, you get to play as the 4 horsemen. I would do it in the way of, like, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Like, Ultimate Alliance, X-Men Legends, that kind of thing. Where it's the team of 4 of the 4 horsemen, and you get to cycle around the different play styles that they all do, and you're just killing tons and tons of demons and everything. That would be the most fun that I would say.
I like that. It's kind of like an evolution of what we've seen so far. And Darksiders, I mean, it has these, at least in the first one that when I played, there were these areas that, they kind of like temple areas that were sort of Zelda inspired. I think it would be kind of a cool gameplay mechanic where maybe you have a puzzle that you have to switch between all 4 of them to solve.
Mm-hmm. So like the way I like to explain it is that 1 is God of War. The way it plays is just like God of War. Like, and I'm talking about old school God of War, like God of War 1. And God of War when it first came out on the PS2. There we go, fixed it. I have to differentiate.
Gotcha.
Where it's a hack and slash. There's combos and everything, and as you progress through the game, you get different power-ups that allow you to progress through the game naturally. Darksiders 2 plays like a Zelda game, where you're getting loot, and each of the armor sets and everything gives you different stats and everything, and it's just an open world. Darksiders 3 plays more like Sekiro or Jedi Fallen Order, that the strategic third-person action game where you can't just like go through hordes of enemies. You have to play strategically or you will die. If you die, you lose all of your stuff, like all of your experience, like in Dark Souls, and then you have to go back to where you died in order to get it back. Which was really fun. And then you had Genesis, which was almost a Diablo-like game where it's top-down, bird's-eye view. You play as war and strife, and you're just destroying hordes upon hordes of enemies. So again, each game still is has that hack and slash action adventure game, but you have different game styles or game genres that you're playing through, which I loved. So you can continue that style by doing a Marvel Ultimate Alliance style of Darksiders game. That would be really fun. So yeah, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one would be kind of piggybacking off of a remaster that we had recently here. Would be a remaster of Medieval 2, Or I would also accept as an alternative or in addition to this, and or a new entry in the medieval franchise. So this was also another thing that's sort of been, I can't remember where it was hinted at, but I know it's kind of been soft confirmed that they might be working on something like this.
Yeah.
It's not like official yet.
Yeah.
I think from my understanding, the remaster of Medieval 1 sold well. And I mean, personally, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had a blast with it. It was a treat to kind of go back and play that. But for the record, I really didn't ever play Medieval 2, to be honest with you. It was, I mean, what you have to keep in mind is like, I mean, like I said, I was a huge fan of Medieval 1. I played that game, probably 4 or 5 times when I was younger.
Yeah.
But at the time, you have to remember this was pre-internet. So if a sequel came out to a game, if I didn't see a TV commercial for it or see it in a magazine, or see it in the store shelves, then you just didn't know what existed.
Yeah.
And the sequel to Medieval was, I mean, as I recall, was fairly well received, but it was also not quite as popular as the original. So it kind of faded into the ether. It's actually kind of a hard game to find now.
Oops.
So having a remaster of that would actually, be really, really nice. I'd love to play that and actually experience that for the first time, and go through that. And just like this last game, hopefully they'd have a version of the PlayStation 1, the original PlayStation 1 version on the disc as well, so we can kind of go back and experience that too.
Yeah, like the way they did. Like the way they did Medieval on the PS4.
And that was a great like unlockable idea. I really love that.
That was beautiful.
I think remasters, when feasible, should really try to do that. But yeah, I think that would I think this is something that's definitely possible that they could do. I don't know so much about an original entry, but I think a remaster is a little bit easier from one perspective, in that the game is kind of quote unquote already made. It's just a matter of updating it. So I would love to see that. I had a blast, like I said, with Medieval 1 remaster. So I think this one's probably even more plausible than Armored Core. I think this might actually happen.
Yeah. For me, my next one would be going off of that. So another PS1 game from way back in the day that I think should also receive a remaster, remake, that medieval treatment would be Twisted Metal. I want to see Twisted Metal that like graphically redone, and like the driving is better, like straight up and down, like the way they did Shadow of Colossus, the way they did Medieval, the way that Activision has done Crash and Spyro, like that kind of thing, or even how Capcom has done the Resident Evil franchise with 2 and 3. Like I want to see Twisted Metal. I want to go ahead and be like, all right, PS1 original Twisted Metal completely redone. And again, you get to play a Sweet Tooth, and you get to go ahead and destroy things, and just that like car mayhem is so much fun. Like I want to see that. I would love to see that kind of thing happen.
I'd like to see that, and maybe have it be a compilation of like Twisted Metal 1 through 3, and have like a new like online mode for it or something like that. Like have a way to play it online, which wasn't really there to begin with. I think the first Twisted Metal game to really have online was Twisted Metal Black, from what I recall.
Yeah,
and even then, that was quote unquote online. That was PlayStation 2 online, which was very finicky, and it wasn't really known for its online abilities.
No.
But yeah, so I'd be definitely on board with that. I love Twisted Metal. I know the last entry we saw on PS3 wasn't as well received, but I think if you had like I said, remasters are big. I mean, they're really big now. Having like a remaster,
they sell. I mean, like Resident Evil 2 was a Game of the Award nominee. We love Medieval. We've even talked about Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and we're extremely excited for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered. So like these things, by taking an old game and kind of keeping that spirit, that kind of spirit to the game, but then kind of bringing it to the current is amazing. Oh my god. Like the way that has been done has been phenomenal. The way they've done Shadow of Colossus, like My God, is Shadow Colossus.
Oh
on
yeah,
PS4
yeah,
amazing.
and it creates a new interest in the franchise, I think, and
Exactly.
kind of piggybacking off of that. My next pick would be basically a true successor to Crash Bandicoot. Now,
Ooh, I like
basically a
that.
Crash Bandicoot 4. Something
Mm-hmm.
and the way I would like them to make this, and hopefully involve Naughty Dog if possible in some way, shape, or form, or some of the developers from Naughty Dog. Like, so maybe if you can get them involved somehow, would make this even better and more
Mm-hmm.
authentic. But the way I would do this, that would be kind of the way I would do it. Essentially, is try to make this like, okay, what if they had made a game right after Warped in the same style of Warped,
Mm-hmm.
and what would that look like if they could go back and do it again? That's kind of the approach I would take. Kind of like the long lost sequel. That
Yeah, and I
that
mean,
was
mind you,
lost in time.
and we kind of got that with Wrath of Cortex, but that was an absolute mess.
Kind of, yeah.
Well,
But
I mean, but it was an absolute mess. It was like, I mean, it followed the same formula, but like nothing happened. Nothing. The levels weren't fun. They were barren, and they were you were given so many things to do in different levels, but not for the betterment. They were thrown in there for no reason. It doesn't make any and then it kind of got worse. Like, I personally love Twinsanity. Like, I love that game. But my God, do you do so much in that game? It's ridiculous. Like, just one level you're playing as normal Crash. The next level, you and Cortex are in a ball and you're rolling down a hill, and then the next you play as this character or whatever. Like, stick to the formula that Crash 1, 2, and 3 stayed. Warped, I love Warped because you are given like the power-ups, but like it still stays true to that normal formula that Crash did. So yeah, no, I agree. For me, going on top of that, let's go ahead and choose Crash Bandicoot's same platform rival. I personally want a Spyro the Dragon 4, another successor to that. During the day of the PS1, it was Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. You had these two camps. Mind you, I love both of them, but I prefer Spyro over Crash. And I think you're the opposite. You love both, but you prefer Crash.
correct.
So, for me, I want to see a Spyro the Dragon 4. I don't know how you do that, but like I would love to see Insomniac, because of the partnership that PlayStation has with Activision right now. I think you could have Insomniac kind of help out Activision and Toys for Bob with making the next Spyro game. We've gotten other Spyro games. We've gotten Spyro: A Hero's Tale, which was at best. You got the Legend of Spyro, which they wanted it to be more epic and more serious, but that's not Spyro. Who is this? What am I playing? And it was just at best. Dawn of the Dragon was okay, but like, again, I'm talking about like this, like when I played the Re-Ignited Trilogy, playing Spyro 1, 2, and 3, which Year of the Dragon is my favorite. God, did it bring up so many good memories. It felt good, just like charging around and like lighting things on fire and gliding like on these platform puzzles. Like, my God, like that kind of thing. Like, if Insomniac can help out Activision for doing Spyro 4, I would love to see a Spyro the Dragon 4, whatever it would be. That would be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you too. I still like Spyro a lot. I mean, I'm more of a Crash fan, but Spyro is fantastic as well too. Mm-hmm. So I'd be right behind you with that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm excited for. That would be one on my wish list. So what do you got next for me?
Yeah, next on my list. I'll have to kind of explain this one a little bit. So we already technically had a remaster of Silent Hill 2 and 3.
Uh-huh.
So kind of.
Which was the that was
The HD collection, yes.
Yeah.
And everything you've heard about it, all the negativity is 100% deserved. It is so bad, and it breaks my heart. I mean, especially as a huge Silent Hill fan. I mean, this is basically my favorite game series of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and at least the original three. With an honorable mention of Silent Hill 4.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart to see these games it was probably I would say easily the worst handled remaster we've seen. It makes the Warcraft 3 Reforged look like a masterpiece by comparison.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay. Wow.
yeah, and I say this entirely unironically. It just awful how I mean everything about it. Switching voice actors, textures and bugs and glitches galore. All these different issues with it. It was awful. It was just terrible.
That sucks.
And they have 1,000 excuses for it. I mean, apparently there was legal issues and they wanted to record some of the voice acting and some issues there, and apparently they lost the source code, and they're like, oh well, that was the problem there, and blah blah blah. But as was pointed out, you don't necessarily need the source code to remake a game. I believe Devil May Cry was actually the HD Devil May Cry trilogy was actually done in such a way, like basically they reverse engineer it. They took a retail copy of Devil May Cry and made like a PC version of it, and like they kind of reverse engineered it and made a game. That was basically identical to the original.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a remaster of Silent Hill 2 and 3 that came out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but it just so horribly done that I think we have to disavow it. I mean, it's to the point where I'm actually in the process of because I want to play this game again. I'm actually hooking up my PlayStation 2 again, because that's really one of the best ways to play it, other than just getting a modded version on PC. That's probably the best way to play it. But if you want to play it on console, really the best way, ironically, to play this still would probably be on a PlayStation 2. So we could really, really use a nice, proper remaster of these games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like a full on. I should say like a re-release, like an HD re-release, not a remaster. I don't think these games actually, Silent Hill 2 and 3 or 4, don't really need a remaster. I think they still look fantastic to this day. But the second part of my wish here is to have an actual remaster, like a full on remaster, Crash, medieval style remaster for Silent Hill 1. Which was on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And as we discussed before, I think, or as I kind of brought up before, I think the games that tend to work best for remasters are games that were originally on the PlayStation 1, because that's where you see the starkest contrast. I mean, updating Resident Evil, for example. I mean, I still think that was, I still consider that probably to be one of the best remasters ever, just of how striking it was.
I mean, my God, Resident Evil 2 and 3 look amazing, but like they're not just, look at how, they're just graphically redone. They made the game better to play, not easier, just better to play.
I would now you got to, because it gets into some murky territory there.
No. What I'm talking about, it's more streamlined. It's like there's more to do. Like it's not just we took the original game, making it look pretty, and then there you go. Like whatever problems that the original had, they tweaked them, but 2 and 3 still stay true to exactly what those two games were.
I would disagree. I think they're fine, but I think they're fundamentally different. I think I don't want Silent Hill to be updated, because I don't want them to come back and turn Silent Hill into like a Resident Evil 4, where it's like over-the-shoulder shooter.
No, I don't think that'll be the case. Again, Capcom has been doing Resident Evil since day one, so they I don't see Capcom doing this. Mind you, Konami is in the it has the Silent Hill is in the hands of Konami. Konami doesn't give a crap about this stuff right now because they're too busy with their pachinko machines and they only want to keep it so that way they can market it on their pachinko machines. They don't give a crap about making actual video games. I did hear a rumor. I did hear
More or less, yeah.
Well, I did hear a rumor that PlayStation is trying to buy the rights of Silent Hill from Konami, so that way they have that way PlayStation can have the rights and then give it to a developer that they own, like Bluepoint, who's making that exclusive game, whatever the f it is. Like
Probably Demon Souls or something, or who knows what it is. I don't know, but anyways,
that's what
yeah.
I mean.
Like I said, that I would love to see a remaster of Silent Hill 1, but not in a I guess not a reimagining. I would classify Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 as kind of a reimagining, almost like where it's not the original games one for one. I want something that's more like Crash and Sane Trilogy or Medieval or Spyro. Reignited. I want something like that for Silent Hill 1, where it's basically the same game. Maybe a couple of small quality of life tweaks you could add to it, but basically the same game, just with a modern, lovingly crafted coat of paint on it.
I mean, there are pros and cons to that also. But I'm not going to try to get too deep into that because
and honestly, especially for Silent Hill, now you can make a different argument. I think I agree with you. You can make a different argument for Resident Evil because you kind of, it's at least still the same original publisher behind it and everything, and they've kind of held on to this franchise forever, and they've for better or worse, but for Silent Hill, it's after Team Silent created three of the best games of all time, and part of them contributed to 4 as well.
Yeah.
They basically with the Silent Hill franchise played hot potato and bounced this between a bunch of different developers, mostly pretty much Western developers, I should say.
Yeah.
And each one of them handled it worse than the last. So I don't really want to see another reimagining. I think I've seen enough reimaginings of Silent Hill for my lifetime. And they all turned out awful. So
I get it.
Yeah, they all. So I'd rather just see basically a 1-to-1 remaster of this of Silent Hill 1 with maybe, like I said, a few quality of life tweaks and trophies and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's all fine.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to see. I know it's kind of like two picks in one there, but
well, no, it's just give me proper Silent Hill. Whether it's remaster,
to sum it up in one sentence.
You redo 1, or you like remaster 1 in like the way they've done Resident Evil or Spyro or whatever, or you give me what was it, Silent Hill 4 or whatever,
Silent Hill 2 and 3 and maybe 4 if you have time.
So I get you.
And something like that, but do it right this time.
yeah, I get you there. To go with another remaster from a different company, I want to see a Prince of Persia complete remaster, at least of Sands of Time. Or if either 3 options. 1, you just do Sands of Time completely. So it's just that game, but you're giving like the PS2 the original Xbox that game, and then you are completely remastering it. Or 2, you take the Prince of Persia trilogy, so you take Sands of Time, One Warrior, and 2 Thrones, and you remaster them into a trilogy set the same way that Spyro and Crash has been done. Or you do a Prince of Persia 4. Mind you, they kind of did do that with Forgotten Sands, which Forgotten Sands is fun. But it happens in between, I believe it's 2 and 3. I would like to see if they can continue off of 3, or if not, a whole, mind you, they've done a whole new Prince of Persia. I think, now that I'm thinking out loud, I think the best way to do it is to remake either 1 by itself, kind of like how Capcom has done Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, where you took one game, but you're kind of amping it up and kind of remaking it, but it's still staying true to the spirit of the original game.
or you go with the Crash and Spyro trilogy, the Remastered Trilogy way, and you remaster 1, 2, and 3. So Sense of Time, One Warrior and Two Thrones. Or Warrior Within. There we go. Warrior Within, Two Thrones. Into a trilogy set, into like one disc. And you do it like that. I love Prince of Persia. I love that game. That franchise is so much fun. The acrobatic puzzles and everything about it, and like reversing time and everything like that. My God, like I played Prince of Persia before Assassin's Creed, and I think that's kind of what was like. Oh, this looks fun when I started playing Assassin's Creed. Like, man, Prince of Persia is so good. Love Prince of Persia.
Yeah, I mean they really are fantastic, fantastic games. I mean there was a PS3 HD release of them, but
Yep.
you're talking full on remaster.
Yeah, like the trilogy remastered on the PS3 is they took those original games and they just went 60 frames per second, 1080p, done, woo. And mind you, it does look better on the PS3, but it's not like completely graphically updated like how we're seeing on the PS4 now, with games like Crash and Spyro and Resident Evil and Shadow of Colossus and that kind of thing. Like, I'm talking about that way, doing it like that. I would love that. That's what I would love. But yeah, so what else you got for me? I think you got the last one. I mean, I have one more, but your last one.
Yeah, so my last pick is really not for anything specific. It's I guess you could kind of accuse me of just like, oh well, you just want remasters and sequels to stuff that's already existed. No, I actually do want to see a new IP, and I think it's safe to say that there will be some kind of new IP this generation. Sony always comes up with something new, usually a couple of new IPs every generation. So I guess what I'd like to see this time around would be kind of filling a gap for Sony of sorts, because Sony has a lot of successful IPs, and then they all for lack of a better term, a lot of them can kind of be sort of samey. I mean, Uncharted is kind of similar to Last of Us, which is kind of similar in some ways, and it takes some cues.
So, are you looking for a new IP? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's new IPs introduced every generation. So I like a new IP, but what I'm trying to get at is I would like it to be something that's a little different, a little it's different than what we have right now, which is basically a bunch of third person shooters or third person hack and slash type games. I'd like to with a story emphasis. I'd like to see what I would really like to see would be a first person shooter, or maybe a third person shooter if you have to, but I'd like to see a first person shooter. So you want to see an
FPS, okay?
Yeah, with a strong focus on gameplay, multiplayer, maybe not so much story, multiplayer, and just having a strong kind of online focus, maybe with some kind of unique gimmick to it. Like what I was thinking is taking cues from things like Fortnite or Minecraft, maybe having like a multiplayer shooter with like a base building aspect to it. Like you have two teams square off against each other and you can build bases, or kind of have like some degree of creativity involved with it. Something like that. I think that would actually.
So just Killzone, but better. Because that's what Killzone.
No.
Because Killzone's
you can build bases in Killzone?
Well, no, because Killzone is an FPS exclusive to PlayStation, and that was kind of PlayStation response to Halo. But Killzone never got up off the ground.
Yeah, obviously, and I was getting to that. Yeah, Killzone and Resistance were these FPS attempts by PlayStation to have a franchise, a multiplayer focused franchise that that was successful. And unfortunately, those series didn't work out to one degree or another. They did get multiple sequels and spin-off games and stuff in there. And the IPs are, at least Killzone, I would say, I would consider that to be an active IP. Even though we haven't seen a game from it in 7 years.
Mind you, I mean, I don't know if Guerrilla is
making another Killzone. I highly doubt it because Horizon Zero Dawn has been Guerrilla's best-selling game. So I highly
So they're
doubt
probably
it.
more focused on that. So I guess I like to see them strike out with something new, and something similar, almost like they had in their more experimental days of the PlayStation 3, they had a massive action game, or MAG, which was kind of along a similar premise. So maybe something kind of like that, but just handled better, and actually
I think
with some real effort in, because I think that is a kind of a blind spot for Sony's exclusives, is they don't really have something that.
Yeah, no, I definitely do agree because, like, I mean, again, for me, like Xbox saying, yeah, we're going to be launching with Halo. That's really good. Like, that is something that PlayStation doesn't have, is that they don't have that exclusive shooter that, oh man, I want to play, like, Killzone's fun. Resistance is fun. Those two games were good, but they were good. Insomniac did Resistance, and I believe it was Insomniac. And then, this annoys me. I'm actually going to make sure that I'm correct. But Killzone and Resistance were kind of, I believe, made by developers who really weren't the best at that. Like, I think you need to find a developer who is good with FPSs. That's what they are built upon. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, it has to be someone that's actually going to put in, the care that it needs to build something like this.
Yeah, I was right. Insomniac did Resistance. I had to double check because I thought it was someone else, but I'm right. But no, like Insomniac is good at like platform games. Like, even Sunset Overdrive is such a fun game, and that was an Xbox exclusive. And now we've seen with Marvel Spider-Man, my God, is that game good? Like,
I'm just thinking, like, wouldn't it be nice to have something a little bit different? I mean, do we need another third-person shooter or another third-person action game? I mean, that's pretty much every exclusive that Sony has now.
And I understand that, but when you said focused more on gameplay, not story, I don't know if that would happen. I think it would be a very much, you need to do a 50-50 cut on both, because, and mind you, a lot of the PlayStation exclusive games have done a very good job of doing that. But you can't be more focused on gameplay. Story kind of doesn't matter, because PlayStation prides themselves on these single-player, narrative-driven games. Should there be a multiplayer if you're suggesting an FPS? Yes, there should be. And I do agree. I think PlayStation should have a first-party, like, blockbuster FPS, but they don't. Mind you, maybe that's just not their cup of tea. I mean, mind you, when I think of shooters, I do think of Xbox. I don't think of PlayStation. When I think of PlayStation, I think of, like, story-driven single-player games. And I would love to see that single-player story-driven game in an FPS done very well. And then you have a multiplayer aspect to it. That's why Uncharted is so successful, is that it's the reason you buy Uncharted is to play the campaign, but it has a multiplayer mode that has a community that still is ongoing today and is popular, that is successful within its community. And I think if you get an FPS made by in-house PlayStation, I think that would be really good.
Yeah, and that's basically that's kind of what I'm asking for, is just a degree of variety. I just want to see something different. I feel like and I'm not the only one to say this. There is a sense of sameness to a lot of their exclusives.
Well, and mind you, Last of Us 1 kind of changed the way that PlayStation games have been made. That's why you feel that kind of sameness this generation, is that it kind of has, like, a lot of the single player games have picked up cues from Naughty Dog, from Last of Us. So there is that. So yeah. All right. So I think, is there anything else that you need to, or no?
No, that was it. That was your full list too, right?
No, I got one more. For me, my last one
is it is not a new IP, like Spectre has said. For me, it is another sequel to Order 1886. Order 1886, in my
Another third-person shooter.
shut up. I don't care. Well, I like third-person shooters, so go shut up, Spectre. Order
You're on the
18
right council.
Order 1886, I believe, in my opinion, I've said this before, is a fantastic first act to a fully realized story. Order 1886, yes, very much was a look at what the PS4 can do. Tons of chapters. I remember playing this with my buddy, and what we would do is we would swap controls over when chapters would happen. What would happen is that every time it was like the next chapter would happen, I would grab the controller and it was just a cinematic chapter. So then the controller would go back to my buddy. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not playing. This chapter. Ooh, I got the hiccups. Excuse me. There we go. All right. So yes, there was a lot of cinematics. Mind you, I don't mind that, but when there is potential in that game, the gunplay was fun. Was it like, have I played better gunplay games? Yes, but it was fun, and I would love to kill more werewolves and that kind of thing. And I think, and they did set it up for a sequel. I think the PlayStation should give Ready at Dawn a second shot. Let them make the game, and let's see where this could go. Give them another shot, because we've seen PlayStation do that multiple times. Like they've done that with Gravity Rush, where on the Vita, Gravity Rush 1 was it was okay, it was fun, but it was okay, and then they made one for the PS4 and it was awesome. PlayStation very much does go, all right, go to second bat, let's try this again. And then we'll see if it actually works or not. Because it came out within the launch of the PS4, it was more focused on, look at how pretty this is. Like, my God, and it's gorgeous. Now you can kind of use it to be, all right, let's focus on gameplay and story and what PlayStation is good at. And I think Ready at Dawn has the ability to do that. So that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, it's I mean, honestly, I would like to see another attempt at it. I mean, I'm now, keep in mind, I'm very critical of Order 1886. And I really wanted to like that game. I genuinely went into it like, okay, this is an interesting atmosphere. Obviously, it looks gorgeous. Nobody had any complaints about the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it was wasted on a very generic, very short game. And I'd like to see them take another stab at it.
Exactly.
I think it deserves a sequel. I hope it gets a sequel.
Because it has potential. That game has potential.
It has potential, and I'll say one good thing about a sequel would be that, assuming they can use the same engine, again, and it adapts to the PlayStation 5 well and everything,
mm-hmm.
and it still looks good. That does save them a lot of time, because I believe they made their own engine for this.
Yeah,
and that takes a lot of development time. And now that they have it and they know how to use it, maybe that would make their follow up to it. They could focus more so on hitting the bullet points of, okay, let's make this game a decent length, let's make a decent story here, and maybe let's make the gameplay a little bit more interesting.
So yeah, those are the 10 games that we have on our list, which is great. I think this is really good. So guys,
honorable mention would be another Alice game, American McGee game.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I can't really think of an honorable mention right now. Another Assassin's Creed. I already got mine, so I'm good. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please let us know what you guys think. Do you agree with our choices of the list? Or is there any other games that you would like to see remastered, a sequel, or whatever coming to the PS5? Please let us know. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Brotherhood of Geeks. Like, comment, share, tell everyone you know, all that kind of good stuff. And if you haven't already, press the bell icon. That way, whenever we put up a video, we put up a video. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Brotherhood of Geeks. You can also follow us on Twitter at Dualshock'd BOG. That's the name of our PlayStation podcast, Dualshock'd BOG. And then you can also follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Brotherhood of Geeks. So yeah, woo, that was good. Oh man, I am so ready for June, so that way we can finally get some more information about stuff.
Yeah, we're desperately looking for information now, please.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
let's get there.
And well, I guess we'll be seeing how Last of Us Part 2 pans out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited to see what you think of it.
So yeah, so I guess we'll see, but it's not going to be until the middle of June, June 19th. So funsies. All right. Well, anything else, Spectre?
No, that's all I got.
Alrighty then. Well then, I'm Brett J. Rasmussen.
And yeah. Yeah, no, I'm Spectre.
Oh, okay, great. And as always, live to play, play together. We'll see you guys next time.